Hello, hello, check, check. How's everybody doing today? It's Friday, it's August 22nd. What a crazy day already. I'm sure, like myself, many of you woke up to learning about some ridiculousness on news, like John Bolton's house getting raided by the feds, right? Let's see. Which way does that want to get nudged there? I think that's better. But now I've just messed up something else. Let's leave it alone. Jazz, you know your rule. Don't touch anything. Yeah, lots of crazy stuff going on today. So again, I'm starting to just come onto my lives before I'm completely ready, because there's so many things I need to do to be completely ready that it's almost like I'll never be ready. Hey, Helby, what's up? Nice to see you. I have so much I want to share with you today. Let's get straight into it. How's your day going? Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And Anna Bees is here. Woohoo! Nice to see you too. All good here. Thanks. So yeah, I just want to jump straight into this article because I have like a million things I want to talk with you guys about. And let's give you a quick overview. The diversion and the intimidation of the Trump regime. Today was the day that those little pesky e-files were supposed to be released to Congress, even though they're on vacation until after Labor Day, right? So, my tell for dear leader when I know he is like straight up bald face lying is when he says, quote, "I know nothing about it," end quote. That's exactly what he said today about John Bolton's home and office getting raided. And remember, John Bolton is a Republican that was Trump appointed. He's not just trying to intimidate John Bolton. He's trying to intimidate everybody. Like, don't cross me, right? Anyway, we're going to talk about Christine Ohm and hamburglers and pizza. Yep, pizza. Nancy Mace. Do you think she might be trans? She looks so trans to me. I'm going to put a photograph of her in a community post later today. Maybe that's why she's so fixated on that. Anyway, there is just so much to talk about. The most vulnerable place a girl can be is naked in the locker room or naked in the bathroom. I'm sorry. First of all, like in high school, girls don't get naked in the locker room. Like maybe in college when they're doing college sports, girls could get naked in the locker room. Don't get me wrong, but they don't because they're in high school and they're shy and they just make sure that they don't need to be, right? They certainly don't get naked in the bathroom. I mean, of course they will pull their pants down to go to the bathroom, but that's not being naked. Anyway, the whole thing with Donnie walking in on the contestants. Okay, so I don't think that Melania won any kind of beauty pageant in 1996. I think that what I read was not true. Trying to cross-reference it, couldn't do it. We're going to talk more about the bathhouses, more about Taj Mahal. A lot of what I want to talk about is Taj Mahal and the rivers overflowing and trolls trying to silence me or somebody like me with their stupid comments on my community posts. Definitely trolls. If you don't like what you see on YouTube, don't look, scroll and roll. You're not going to like dig your heels in and spend time and effort commenting like, hey, I don't like what you're saying. I mean, once in a while, sure, but not really. Did Trumpster Fire meet Melania when she was much younger? And my voice to text dictation is still not working on my Google, but I want to know. I think Melania started modeling when she was 15. And I bet you that Donnie met her when she was really young, when he was still married, maybe to his first wife. How old was Melania when she started modeling? And does she have parents, or is she a robot when she started modeling? Does she have like siblings? I kind of think she's been getting transported her whole life. Okay, this is funny because it says she was 16 years old when she started working as a fashion model in her native Yugoslavia. So as a fashion model, but I know for a fact that she started modeling when she was 15, at least 15, if not younger. She continued to pursue her education while working as a model. Okay, the education was fake. We know that. She's a total fraud. And, plagiarizing Michelle Obama's speech, that's fraud. And actually, you can get criminal charges for being a fraud. You can't really get criminal charges for the plagiarism directly, but it can lead into other criminal and civil charges. How many cosmetic surgeries has Melania had? Why did Melania not attend the Tiffany baby shower? Okay, yeah, this is so funny. So funny. It's so obviously written by the Trump administration. She started working as a fashion model at the age of 16. It's like, no, you have to start modeling before you can be a fashion model. I've known a lot of people who've worked in the modeling industry, like the actual modeling industry, Even my mother worked in the actual modeling industry for a while. And pursuing her education, the education in how to take your clothes off, right? I think my lighting is too bright. It's too bright on this side, isn't it? Or is that just me? Let's see if I could just do a little bit of tweaking. I don't want to be focused on that. I think that's a little bit better. Okay. A lot of ugly women on the right. Well, all the plastic surgery, how can you tell? How can you tell? Mostly because of the way they are in the inside. I know, Anna B's completely. It's gross. Like Christy Nome. I mean, again, she would look pretty if she were a decent individual, but she's such an effing hag. She's insane. She's completely insane. Mrs. Almir, did you get your bracelet? So happy to see you. Hello, Miss Jazz and Justice Warriors. Mrs. Amir, good to see you. It's been a minute. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, I want to start out by reading an article to you. There's so many things I want to talk about. So the other distractions today, other than Michael Bolton getting raided at his home and office, was also an LA barbershop, I think last night, getting raided by ICE. Could you be more cliche? The whole thing with, like the barbershop in the 60s, and Spike Lee had a movie, I think, called Barbershop, or somebody did. Anyway, also yesterday, I think it was, that Russia bombed a American factory in Ukraine. Like, it's a hat trick of distractions coming from the Trumpster fire, in my opinion. Not yet, ma'am. I will let you know as soon as I get it, but haven't got any notification from the Post. I will follow up with my end, but I would think you'd be getting it any minute. So I'm kind of surprised you haven't gotten it yet. But I don't know how long things take in South Africa once they're dropped into your postal service. So I would think that it got dropped in the first week of August, but maybe they forgot. So here I go with my reading. Man, the cell phones are so stupid. So stupid sometimes. Because, like, ugh. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm lucky to have a cell phone. I'm lucky to know how to use my cell phone, right? You know how I love to say, if that's my biggest problem, then how lucky am I? And the article that I'm reading to you, I've already linked it up in the description. And it's from the Atlantic City. It's absolutely crazy. I'm just going to quit talking and read because, I've just been, I think a lot of us are just on overload. The flooding of the zone is happening like 100 times over, especially today, Friday, the day of the little e-files. So this is about the Taj Mahal executives that passed away in that helicopter crash on October 10th, 1989. What I didn't know is October 10th, 27 years later, was the same day that the Taj Mahal closed. There's a lot I didn't know that's in this article. As much as I've read about it, there's a lot that's written about it. There's a lot to know, and I want to know more because I think that this holds a lot of pertinent information for what's going on right now with our country. So the Taj Mahal was the largest casino in the world. I think it had not even opened yet, October 10th, 1989. I think it opened the following year. But let me just read and then we'll discuss because there's so much. This might be a really long live. We'll see how it goes. You know me. I don't like to have them be too long because then I'll never be able to review it. And I always want to review them to see if there's things I need to tweak. Yes, ma'am. Take some time still. Snail mail here unless they fully and clearly explain to her the fees and the time it would take. Right. And she lives there. So I gave it to my friend to give to her daughter who lives there. And so she knows exactly how it works. But yes, here we go. This is an article from the Atlantic City Weekly, written the same day as the same day that the Taj Mahal closed. Alrighty. And it's titled Trump Taj Mahal Closed on the Anniversary of Executive's Helicopter Crash. It's written by Michelle Brunetti, a Post staff writer. October 10th, 2016 was when it was published. And it has a photograph. It says Donald Trump, top left, leaves the Eddis home in Margate after senior executive Mark G. Eddis, 37, died in a helicopter crash on October 10th, 1989. So Mrs. Amir says it's kind of difficult to tune in. Winter may not my fave time of year. Both my boys' birthdays in August, and it's quite hectic. Oh, I know. Birthdays for family, for kids, are especially hectic for me too. I get that. Excuse me. The former jewel of the Atlantic City closed on October 10th, the 27th anniversary of the helicopter crash that unalived 3 of Donald Trump's top Atlantic City executives, including Taj Mahal president Mark Grossinger Eddis. So all the information that I had come across, he was one of the vice presidents. All the information that I had come across, it was 3 vice presidents. Not the case. One of them was a vice president. So this guy, Mark Eddis, was the actual president. And it was his wife that Ivana was taking her trip with right around, I think it was getting close to the first anniversary of his passing, but I know it was in 1990 when her estranged husband barged in on her while she was packing the night before the trip and attacked her, right? We talked about that yesterday. We don't need to get into that. It's hideous, but it's relevant and important because this guy is a serial assaulter of the most violating and intimate type of assault. The accident on October 10th, 1989, sent waves of grief and shock through Trump's organization just months before it opened the Taj, then billed as the largest casino in the world. And as the business faced major financial challenges, the three executives unalived when the helicopter crashed in a wooded Garden State Parkway median in Lacey Township. So this is in New Jersey, Jersey, like where Tony Soprano lives. So the three executives unalived were Edis, 37, of Margate, Trump senior executive in charge of all Atlantic City operations, Stephen Hyde, 43, of Linwood, and executive vice president of the Trumpster Fire Plaza Hotel Casino, Jonathan Beninav, 33, of Margate. So 2 pilots also passed. Federal investigators determined a faulty rotor caused the crash. I'm going to guess that it was a faulty rotor that causes a lot of crashes, right? For probably helicopters and airplanes. They're probably pretty easy to make faulty. You just like loosen a bolt or something. I don't know. It was devastating, said former casino regulator Frederick Gushin, who oversaw the Taj's opening for the state Division of Gaming Enforcement. He later founded Spectrum Gaming Group 1993. Losing people with operational experience would cut into any organization's ability to proceed. Again, so I think, in my opinion, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly, the Trumpster fire may have had something to do with orchestrating this crash. And then we'll get into this in the article. He gets rich off of the crash, and then he blames, or he tries to get rich off of the crash, and then he blames the crash for his failures. In my opinion, I can imagine winter's never fun. Good luck on your party planning. Oh, I love winter, actually, because things slow down, and I like things to be calm. I don't like it when it's negative 20 outside. I will admit that. Anyway, if you're dressed for the weather, you're fine. It's the underdressing that can take your life, not so much the weather itself, but the not being prepared for the weather. Losing people with operational experience would cut into any organization's ability to proceed, he said. But in this case, with such a large facility about to open, the full impact is unknowable, he said. All three were respected and admired leaders, missed personally and professionally, said Gushin. Trumpster Fire appointed his brother, Robert, to replace Edis, but it didn't last. Robert quit after feeling humiliated by his older brother. And I don't know if Robert is the one who is Mary Trump's dad. I can't remember. I will look that up. Because he had a few brothers. I think he was one of 7, if I'm remembering right, or at least one of 5. And 2 sisters and maybe 2 brothers. Anyway, Mark Edis's son, Scott Edis, now executive VP for Excel Security Services in New York City, often visited the Taj when he was in South Jersey. It wasn't necessarily a comfort, but it was always nice to go down and take a look at the placard and painting. He said of the markers in honor of his father at the 5,200-seat Mark G. Edis Arena. Mark Edis was considered Trumpster Fire's point man for special sporting events and a master of deals in sporting and entertainment. Scott was just 10 years old when the accident happened. Now he is the same age as his father when he passed, and he has 2 children of his own, Mark, who's 5, and Ashley, 2. And again, this was written in 2016, so 10 years ago. So now they'd be 15 and 12. Taj Management assured Scott Edis the family will receive the portrait and plaque after the closing, he said. Mark Edis was born into the Grossinger family that founded the famous Grossinger Catskills Resort Hotel in Liberty, New York in the early 1900s, catering to Jewish clientele and becoming an iconic mountain resort. Mark's brother, Mitchell, 7 years younger, was also an Atlantic City casino executive. He later became CEO at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut and is now semi-retired, he said. Having continued my career in the business to relative success, I always thought of my brother and having him with me in spirit along the way, said Mitchell Edis. He is certain that the accident prevented the Taj from getting off to a good start, he said. Scott Edis said his mom, and sister moved to New York soon after the crash. His mom, Lauren, lives on Long Island and in New York City, he said, and his sister, Rachel Edis Green, lives in Westchester County, New York. That's Westchester County is where that places that I just mentioned, the what was it called? The Grossinger family resort hotel in Liberty, New York, or it's near there anyway, Westchester County, because I was looking them up on the map to see how close they were to where that other airplane went down this past summer with that very successful and prominent family crashed their small plane with 6 fatalities. Remember that one near the Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York state lines in the park area? A couple of doctors, and yeah, I won't go on. Anyway, it's all kind of the same area, upstate New York. And by the border, by the eastern border of upstate New York. Both he and Rachel graduated, like their father, from Cornell University School of Hotel Administration, where there is a scholarship in their father's name. Hyde was a Mormon who grew up in Utah and had 7 children. So that was all about Estes family. Now they're talking about Hyde. Trump is the driving force in the Trump organization, but Hyde was the guy who pulled everything together for him in Atlantic City. So basically, that means that Hyde was the brains behind the Wizard of Oz Trumpster fire figure, right? Said Daniel Lee, an analyst with the investment banking firm of Drexel Burnham Lambert Incorporated. Golden Nugget Incorporated chairman Stephen Wynn called Hyde, quote, a big old sweetie pie, a cream puff, end quote, in interviews at the time. That kind of makes me think of like a mobster, you know, how they always say, like a big teddy bear, family man, big teddy bear. Big old sweetie pie, a cream puff. Like, why? Why are you calling this guy a cream puff? Like, that's kind of insulting unless you're trying to counterbalance that other thing, right? So I'm prepared for a long video. If you guys are, I've got my coffee, I've got my vegetable juice, and I've got water. As long as I don't bite my tongue. Annabees. Oh, Jazz, I think we've seen this movie before, sorta. Exactly. Yes, sorta. Because, yeah, I've learned a lot of new information. And a lot of it's in this article, which is why I wanted to start with the article. And then chat with you guys. It's not at all, but this year has been a bit better after cutting out sugar off my diet. My inflammatory pain is gone and arthritic pain too. The planning is going well for daycare and family. Well, that's great. Yeah, sugar is a good thing to cut out of your diet. I try to keep sugar down to a dull roar. Mrs. Amir, I need to do that because I have inflammation all over, especially my knee, but I'm so undisciplined. I'm glad you're doing well. Yeah, as long as I don't have it around, I'm okay. And then I like dark chocolate is my big weakness. But let's see. Where was I? The driving force, cream puff. Okay. Hyde was a bear of a man, gentle and assuming, according to people who knew him at home in the indoors and in his role as a corporate executive. Okay. So only at home and only in his role as corporate executive. So outside of that, he was probably the opposite of the gentle and unassuming, is my guess. Because otherwise, why would they specify that, right? In my opinion. While Trump was brash and egotistical. What? No way. Hyde was humane and humble, people said at the time. Trumpster Fire worked on a grand scale developing deals, but Hyde was the detail man who kept the casinos working. Okay, so he was the guy who would dispatch the dudes to crack the kneecaps and break the thumbs, it sounds like. Maybe. It's a question, not a statement. And please do. You will thank me later. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should cut sugar down. But more importantly, even I think, is just increasing your protein uptake. Like every single time you eat, whether you're eating a meal or a snack, every single time you put anything in your mouth, make sure you're putting protein in your mouth. That is like the hottest nutrition tip available to mankind, in my opinion. B'Nai was younger and had less experience, but Trumpster Fire called him a rising star in the industry. Trump told New York Magazine in February 1990, oh, this is wild, you guys. Check this out. Donnie told New York Magazine in February 1990 that the crash convinced him to pursue a divorce from his first wife, Ivana. 1990 was the year he attacked her. The crash convinced him to pursue a divorce from his first wife, Ivana. Weird. I mean, we know he'd already been having the affair with Marla because that's probably around the time she got pregnant. And I think they were together for years before she got pregnant. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading. I think the helicopter had something to do with it, Trump said in an interview published in the March 5th issue. It showed him, quote, how short and how fragile life is. I think it's such BS. I think that the helicopter crash definitely had something to do with the divorce. My guess is that Ivana was figuring out that he may have orchestrated it. That's my guess. And then she couldn't get over it, so he wanted a divorce. He was trying to figure out how he could just take her out so she wouldn't tell anybody, but he probably, got her scared for her life, especially when he assaulted her. And then remember the day she fell down those stairs, it wasn't just the night before the deposition, the big scary deposition. It was also 2 weeks and 2 days before or after, 2 weeks and 2 days after Ghislaine was sentenced. Ghislaine was sentenced in the New York court system, I believe June 28th of 2022 to the 20 years in prison. And then 2 weeks and 2 days later, one of her best friends, who is, Ivana, not only falls down a flight of stairs, but doesn't survive. Because you can fall down a flight of stairs and survive, idiots. Come on. It's possible. I say idiots to the people that use this as an MO, because it's just absurd. Like, falling down a flight of stairs is not always fatal. It's always going to cause a lot of problems, a lot of medical issues, broken bones, and maybe some rupture of internal organs, but it's not always going to be fatal. Nowhere near. I bet a very small percentage of, probably like 1% of people that fall down the stairs actually pass away from it. Maybe. And sometimes they fall down the stairs because not only were they possibly pushed, maybe they fell over a dog and nobody even knows that because the dog's not telling anybody. And my dog tried to do that to me out on the porch last week. I literally fell to my knees. Luckily, I wasn't near any stairs. And it was my good dog too. Not the crazy one. And what else? I'm just going to keep reading. Trump later married actress and model Marla Maples, then age 26. Oh, this is the worst. This quote, I think this is the end of the article. Trigger warning, and I hope you're sitting down. It's just absolutely nuts. Ready? This is a Donnie quote. Emotionally was the hardest part because I lost 3 great friends, end quote, said Trumpster Fire, 43 at the time. Quote, to have 3 of your best friends go down like this, it's a horror, end quote. Oh, no, that's not the end of it, but that's like the end of it in my mind. Emotionally was the hardest part. It's like, duh. Of course, what, like that shocking to you to hear yourself say that emotionally was harder than financially? And I don't believe it anyway. That goes without saying. He doesn't have emotions. He has anger, but that's not an emotion. Trump sued the manufacturer and operator of the helicopter after the crash, trying to get rich off the accident. Remember, this is the man who has filed over 4,000 lawsuits in his lifetime. So his employees die in a terrible accident. And not only does he try to sue the manufacturer, he also tries to sue the operator. Let's see. Fred Field is here. Where'd you go, Fred? I didn't even see you come in. There you are. Hola. So 5 minutes ago. Sorry it took me so long to catch it. Was it you who knocked Emmanuel's mom? Both parents have been arrested this morning. Jokes aside. Hello, sir. Both parents have been arrested this morning. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you referring to one of the true crime cases? Oh, is Emmanuel the little baby that was like found in the dumpster or something? Was not me, Mrs. Amir. It seems like little T had some bad players behind him since the beginning. How does he get away from the consequences? He is a bad player from the beginning. And yeah, he always gets away because of that whole thing with like creating an even bigger distraction and diversion, like today with the bombing of the American factory in Ukraine and the terrorizing of Michael Bolton and raiding his home and his office. And last night, the ICE raid of the Los Angeles barbershop. So like, that's all his distraction. And I'm sure that's only half of it from the release of the little e-files that he's trying to sabotage from happening today. And he'll probably get it postponed. It's Friday. He's got the whole weekend to blow up the world, right? And then nobody will ever know because no one must know. He's such a freaking weasel, man. He can never take accountability for a damn thing. So here he is trying to sue the manufacturer and operator of the helicopter for taking his employees away from him and then making his business fail, right? All right. In April 1991, a federal judge ruled that Trumpster Fire's 3 casinos were not entitled to millions of dollars in damages to compensate for business losses allegedly arising from the deaths. Only the families of the victims could rightfully seek damages related to wrongful death, a judge ruled. The families settled with both the manufacturer and the operator of the craft, which Trump had leased. See, they should have sued him too, since they were conducting business for him. But they probably didn't want anyone else in their family to meet such an unfortunate misadventure, right? Okay, I'm going to set this down for a minute. on its charging stand, and I'm going to catch up with my peeps and try to not bite my tongue. And remind you to hit your like button. Let me grab my lighter and burn my candle that smells so good. Since I think I know where everything is, here's the lighter. I had it by the front door. Sorry, I showed a little skin. I'm wearing a dress that's slightly short. I'll try not to do that again. Not that you guys care, but I care. And here's my sweet honeybee candle. I love things that smell like honey. I'm such a honey bear. And then I was going to put the candle down here so that you could see the thumb and remind yourself to hit your like button, right? That's what it's all about. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. Turn on your notification bell to ring a ding ding, and share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like the channel. And cheers. Here's coffee out of a mug that I've had for like probably 40 years. It's from a little boutique in Columbus across the street from OSU called Trade Winds. I got so much stuff at Trade Winds. I loved that place. Very boho chic. You can't even see. It's like a jade color. And you can't see it all. It's got like, can you see it at all? No, I don't think you can. It gets too flooded out by the light. It's like a raised design of fish, and like carp and Japanese like water lilies and stuff like that. It's really cool. And it's got this fancy little detail on the mug handle. And I can't believe that the mug handle has never broken off. It did have a lid on it when I first got it, so it would keep your tea or your coffee warm. But I have no idea what happened to the lid. Anyway, you guys don't care about my freaking mug, do you? I do, but you don't. But let me show you my other squirrel, because I've been recollecting my squirrels. I don't know if you guys ever saw this one. It's not an ice sculpture. It's just glass, but it's super cute, isn't it? And I try to keep things like tacks and toothpicks in it to keep them handy so I don't get into a tack or a toothpick emergency. Anyway, enough about all that. Slippery snake. Who's a slippery snake? Just kidding. Yes, he is. Mrs. Amir says, Fred, some mainstream media is calling the Ola mom and dad sad through the baby is presumed deceased. Yeah, I think you're talking about one of the true crime cases. Because I have seen some about that, but I haven't looked into it at all. He's a slippery snake. And Annabise, I'm sure you are speaking of the Trumpster fire. He is such a slippery snake. He is so gross and evil. And I just want to address real quick, again, those trolls that were in my comment section of my community post the other day. And I read that to you guys yesterday. And, I thanked them both, for their comments, because that's good for the algorithm. So I appreciate that, even if it is complete BS. But, I took a step back and was just kind of thinking about it in general when I was relaxing, taking a nice hot Epsom salt bath. And it dawned on me that clearly what they're doing is trying to silence me. And there's only really one reason why somebody wants to silence you, and that's to keep the truth from getting out. So why would these two random people care about the truth getting out and trying to shame me and embarrass me, make me feel ashamed for being flagrant about my hatred towards this snake of a freaking satanic ex-assaulter. I mean, you're not going to shame me for that because I'm proud to hate somebody like that. Like, why wouldn't you hate somebody like that? And aren't you just as bad as them, almost, if not just as bad as them, to be trying to protect them? I mean, you're enabling them. You're enabling the victimization. And you're part of the whole silencing machine. So whether you're doing it voluntarily or you're part of some, orchestrated thing, it's pretty irrelevant. It's pretty much one and the same thing, in my opinion. Anyway, Jez, he has not been found yet, but they were arrested. Redruth, you probably mean Red Rum among the charges. Probably your spell check gotcha. Yeah. And that reminds me of that horrible father, if you can call him a father, in Washington State who took the lives of his 3 beautiful daughters this past summer. I don't think he's been found either, has he? He's really hideous. And so is his baby mama. Like, she forgives him. She's like, oh, he's got PTSD from the war. It's not his fault. Let's see. Man who killed 3 daughters in Washington. I don't think he's been found. Is his name like Blaine or something like that? Man who killed 3 daughters in Washington. Travis Decker. So they were Paitlin 9, Evelyn 8, and Olivia 5, June of 2025. Former military member with wilderness survival training, currently the subject of an ongoing multi-agency manhunt. I can't believe they still haven't found him. My guess is that he is not in the country and or deceased. So you guys are probably familiar with this. Travis Decker, on May 30th, 2025, picked up his daughters for a scheduled custody visit. When he failed to return them, their mother reported them missing. On June 2nd, police found Decker's unoccupied truck near a campground in Chelan County, that's Washington State. The girls' bodies were found a short distance away. An autopsy determined the girls died of suffocation. They were found with plastic bags over their heads and their wrists zip tied. I did not know that part. Sorry, trigger warning. Horrible. Search for Travis Decker. DNA profiles matching Decker's were found on the plastic bags and zip ties at the crime scene, confirming he is the sole suspect. Since his disappearance, federal authorities have taken over the search for Decker with a $20,000 reward offered for information leading to his capture. Due to his survival skills, search efforts have extended into vast wilderness areas, including Idaho, though most leads have been unsuccessful. Yeah, Idaho needs more trouble, huh? But yeah, that'd be a good place to hide out, probably. Montana, also probably a good place to hide out. Maybe the Dakotas. Search efforts scaled back. In late July 2025, officials reduced the size of the search team due to decreasing credible leads, but the investigation remains ongoing. Authorities do not know if Decker is alive or deceased. I'll just read a little bit more here. According to his ex-wife's attorney, Decker struggled with mental health issues, including PTSD, and had become unstable leading up to the murders. Interesting that she has an attorney. I'd say that it's smart for her to have an attorney, but it's also suspicious, in my opinion. History of instability. In 2024, his ex-wife had petitioned the court to modify their parenting plan due to his worsening mental health and unstable housing situation. The girl's mother believes, quote, the system failed Travis. Aw, so sad. I'm just so not sorry. That's gross. But not by not providing him with adequate mental health resources, and that if he had received help, her daughters would still be alive. Well, yeah, if he hadn't offed them, they'd still be alive. So I see her point. And yes, military vets do need to have serious improvements in their mental health access and health in general. The health system for our military is not good. I don't think it's even as good as the healthcare system for the rest of us. I did not know this until more recently, real life experience. Anyway, girl's mother believes system failed Travis. So if you're wondering, my son has had issues with his teeth, getting infected, and just massive failure from the dental and medical system of the Navy right there in Washington, D.C. I will say no more. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, it needs to be said. It's effing crazy. It's stupid. I mean, he's 21 years old and he is a big tough guy, but they don't need to push his luck with that crap. It's really serious. Anyway, back to Travis. It sounds like she's maybe trying to lay the foundation to sue the effing military for her daughter's not being here. And maybe that's why she's retained an attorney, not so much out of like a defense attorney of her having anything to do with it. That's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion. I mean, think of all the soldiers that don't go and unalive their kids. He would have done that, whether he ever joined the military or not, in my opinion. But certainly the military needs to screen better for mental health issues, and they need to treat post-traumatic stress disorder more serious, not to mention head injuries, right? So this is just 3 days ago. ABC News, authorities reveal disturbing new crime scene details. We don't need to look at that. Let me set that down. That's really disturbing. Sorry for the distraction. But yeah, I see stuff about that Travis Decker case, and I was hoping that he'd been apprehended by now. But I also see stuff about this case, and especially me with my own father doing, attempting to take my life and my sister's lives. These cases just hit way too close to home for me. And even the Watts case, I didn't follow at all. I completely avoided it until Netflix came out with that Nightmare Next Door that sucked in a lot of us. That's what got me sucked into that effing Watts case. But I'm glad I did. There's a lot to be learned from the Watts case. So, let's see. Shan had a live last night. I was in replay crew. Awesome. How was it? Did you get to see the whole thing? They have been so depressed about our country. Wait, I missed a whole bunch. Lately, I've been so depressed about our country, and I'm disappointed with so many people. Well, I'm really disappointed with Dan Bongino, who came back out from under the rock that he lives under just today to back up Kash Patel and talk about what it was that they were saying, that no one's above the law. They're talking about Michael Bolton. It's like, well, what about you? And what about your big Trumpster fire daddy? I mean, all of them belong in prison as far as I'm concerned. And it just gets worse and worse. At the same time, the more crimes that they commit and all the freaking financial crimes and scams that the whole Trumpster fire is committing, the more likely it is that they will do hard time, that they won't be able to freaking snake their way out of it as slithery as they are. We'll see. But anyway, how was Shan's live last night? I'll have to catch that on replay crew as well. I noticed that I think BoobTube put up another one, right? And Sagali, Truth Tsunami. I mentioned hers. It seems like there's a little rash of the OG Kylie Rodney people making Kylie Rodney content right now, and I'm really grateful for that. And I have more to talk about with that too, because just thinking about it more and sleeping on it more. What I was saying yesterday about the car show in Reno, maybe being code for, like, I don't know, a ex-slave trading block auction. I don't know. I just kind of think that maybe that's the thing. I mean, Reno played such a significant role in the whole thing, but it was also like covered up and swept under the rug. And again, the selling of X is legal in the state of Nevada. Now, one of you was saying the other day that it's not legal in the county where Reno is. That doesn't make sense. I thought it was legal in the whole state. So I don't know the ins and outs, but I do know that there's a lot of code, like the whole thing with the hamburgers and the pizza. And we're going to talk about hamburgers and pizza too, because that's another thing that the Trumpster Fire administration is talking about today. Really, hamburgers and pizza, huh? Because what about Pizzagate? And what about the hamburger joint where Kristi Noem had her purse stolen with thousands of dollars in cash, even though there was like Secret Service right there? Oh, and she had the thousands of dollars in cash because she was buying the hamburgers for her kids and family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very likely story. And then we've never heard about that again. So yeah, I think there's something up with the hamburglers and the pizza. I think that that's code. So then we had JD Vance and Hegseth and was it Patel or one of these other scumbags who was buying freaking hamburglers for the National Guardsmen, I think yesterday in DC from Shake Shack. Because, they don't know how to buy their own hamburgers. And really, like, if they're just in the heat of DC all day on their feet, they might actually need like a salad or something a little healthier than a freaking burger that might kill them. Just like all those burgers are killing Donnie with his melting ankles, right? Let's see. Little T is trying to catch all the predators. Jazz is all the deep state that are stopping him, but God has handpicked him and he will get all the evil doers. Well, he wants to be the only predator so that he can keep all the victims to himself, right? So he wants to catch all the other predators so that he's got a wider selection for him being the king predator of them all. Thanks for your sarcastic comment, Anna. I love that. For anybody who didn't know, that's completely sarcastic. I'll read it again. Oh, but little T is trying to catch all the predators, Jazz. It's all the deep state that are stopping him, but God has handpicked him, and he will get all the evildoers. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Have a blessed day, ladies. Off to bed. No, Travis still on the loose if he is still alive. Yeah. And I would think that he's in another country, but that's also hard to say with, having to have a passport. He probably has a fake passport. He's probably had plastic surgery. Again, with his military background, he probably has access to a lot of the things that you would need to have access to in order to basically disappear. Right, Mrs. Amir, good night, sleep well. Yes, thanks for coming in. And yeah, I will do a little bit of legwork on my end to see what update I get on the bracelet. I agree they need more mental health support, but so many stand behind the cuts to Medicaid because of supposed healthy, able-bodied people taking advantage of Medicaid. Well, no, it's simply because the billionaires need more money. That's I mean, that's their cover story, Anna Bees, and I know you don't buy it either, but I mean, it's just so effing crazy. Yeah, people are like getting rich off of Medicaid, right? I mean, sure, there's always going to be waste, fraud, and abuse, but I think the worst waste, fraud, and abuse is the Trumpster fire administration and Kristi Noem, Pamela Bondi, Cash Patel, all of them, waste, fraud, and abuse. So, did you hear that Alligator Alcatraz is ordered to get dismantled because they built it on ecologically protected land? Idiots. So at least that's good. Like, they have to take it down, even if they fight it and appeal it. It's coming down, but it got ordered to come down, I think, today. And Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he needs to go to prison too. Like, he signed, I think, a $500 million contract or something like that with the federal government for Florida state. And that's why he built Alligator Alcatraz, was to justify the $500 million support. Like he's not pocketing any of that. And like I said, the land where they built it was it was, I think, supposed to be a military airport. But when they were building it, they realized that they can't build it there because of the wetlands and because of the fragile, what do you call it? The not the biosphere, but the ecology, the fragile ecological system of the Everglades, basically. So they couldn't even put in an airport there, let alone this facility to hold thousands of people and, feed them and house them. And then to have it be a tent in an area that's a swamp and that's prone to hurricanes, it was such a trap to just kill people in, right? And then what they had, like 80% of the prisoners there get sick last week, I think. I didn't really look into that, but I saw stuff about it floating through the interwebs. Yes, the Netflix show got me into the Watts case. Yeah. The thing that's so profound about that next Netflix documentary is that none of it is played by actors. It's all raw footage of the family themselves, of the victims, of the perpetrators. I mean, NK wasn't in it. She was mentioned, of course, but I guess she was in it. They probably showed like photographs of her in the video footage. But yeah, I mean, just all the body cam footage of law enforcement, and it's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. The footage from Nosy Ned, the neighbor, the surveillance footage of the driveway. I still don't know what to make of that. I mean, I don't see him taking his family members out the front door into the driveway where it's well lit. I mean, no, he didn't even turn the freaking lights off. No, he would have turned the lights off if he's taken people out the front door. He did not take people out the front door. He took stuff out the front door, like gas can and stuff, because he was gonna blow the place up. But yeah, they went out the back. I mean, if he was going to take them out the front, I firmly believe he would have, Chris Watts would have taken Shanann's car out of the garage, pulled his pickup truck into the garage, and then loaded the deceased family members into the truck inside the garage. Even if he couldn't close it, he could at least have it be in some kind of secrecy and shrouded in darkness with no lights. But they didn't even turn off the garage lights or the driveway lights. So I don't think that what we saw on the neighbor Nosy Nick's surveillance footage, I don't think that was loading up humans into the rig. Plus, the truck had sensors in it that would tell the company Anadarko how much weight was in the cab. So there also would have been a mess made because of bodily fluids and fecal matter and stuff. And no, Chris was like so OCD. He was probably as OCD as Shanann was about keeping everything pristine and perfect, and especially his work truck. He's not going to mess with that. Anyway, that footage is really important footage, but also I think it was Chris and NK together as a team. They lost so much time with Shanann's flight being delayed because there was a storm on the East Coast that delayed her plane coming into Arizona. I think it was like 2 or 3 hours delayed. And then, so it was actually getting light by the time he pulled out of the driveway. The sun was coming up. And this was a well-populated neighborhood with everybody having Ring doorbell cams and surveillance cams and people working out early in the morning and people basically just being nosy neighbors. I mean, that's pretty typical in any kind of suburban neighborhood. But I do wonder about the figures walking down the driveway from the Watts residence. And I do think that one of them could well be not Chris, if you catch my drift. But yeah, I mean, it was also like that with the Gabby Petito movie that they were able to make with so much of the footage, like real footage of Gabby and Brian, without needing to rely on reenactments or anything. It's pretty wild in this day and age. That's going to be more and more common. And just really sad when you see it up close. I mean, Gabby's case is so sad. That girl did not need to pass away. She needed to get away from that dork. But anyway, let me keep reading what you guys are saying and then look at my notes, because I know there's a lot of stuff I wanted to share that I probably have forgotten to so far. The live was good. It was split into 2. I fell asleep on the second part, so I will have to rewatch. Oh, was it split into 2 because she wanted to split it into 2, or did lose the live stream? That would be interesting. He probably had it planned, so he's somewhere. No one will find him. Yeah, you're right. The Travis Decker, he probably did have it planned. He probably did that to spite his ex-wife. You are absolutely right, Anna Bees. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I think my father absolutely had it planned. I think Chris Watts absolutely had it planned. I think Brian Laundrie had it planned. Foundation is also sad, both cases. No, she lost the live stream. Oh, that's fascinating that she lost the live stream, Shan, on Squirrels on Fire, especially because she is so well versed in computer technology and she has a really good system. So that tells me that it was probably shut down, right? Wouldn't you think, Anna Bees, and anybody else who saw it? So let me see. I filled up this notebook. I'll have to move over to my next notebook for the next video. I'm just blown away that the Taj Mahal wasn't even finished yet when those 3 high-ranking executives passed away. So Stephen Hyde was the CEO. And then Jonathan Benenev, or however you say his name, he was the executive vice president of the Trumpster Fire Plaza Hotel and Casino. And then Mark Estes was actually the president president, not vice president, the president of the Taj Mahal Sports and Entertainment. So it was a president, a CEO, and an executive VP. It's almost like they were trying to downplay it by saying it was 3 VPs, right? Like, important, but not that important. It's like, no, these are your 3 key people. These are your key players who know everything about the laundering, about the shell games, about Russia, right? I bit my tongue when I did that. That wasn't smart. So the largest casino in the world, and then for them to close it on the 27th anniversary, again, it reminds me of, I see this pattern with Trumpster Fire trying to supersede anniversaries. So rather than October 10th being the anniversary of when these 3 high-level executives died in a helicopter crash, now we can say it's the anniversary of when Taj Mahal closed. Because closing it on the anniversary of their passing away, the 27th anniversary, to me, it's like rebranding the anniversary. A lot like the 2nd anniversary of Ivana's passing away was superseded by Dear Donnie being, I don't know, fake assassination attempt. That was the 13th of July, 2024. And it was the 14th of July, 2022, when Ivana had her big fall down the stairs. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that that was Donnie trying to get his kids to focus on how lucky they are to still have their dad, that he could have almost passed away too, when the very next day was only the 2nd anniversary of having lost their mom. And I tell you, anniversaries are rough. They bring everything to surface. And that 1st anniversary is always the hardest. And probably all of Ivana's children had a really bad 1st anniversary of losing their mom. And they were probably anticipating a really bad 2nd anniversary of losing their mom. So then Donnie interjects into the narrative to make it the day that they almost lost their dad, because it's all about him. Everything is all about him. He's got no freaking compassion or empathy for any of the people around him, including his own family and kids. So let me keep looking over my notes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything in here. And also, I mean, it goes without saying, casinos are kind of the underworld and underbelly of civilization, where a lot of dark things happen. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that whole thing. And yeah, what was Mary Trump's dad's name? Is that Robert Trump? Let's see, Mary Trump. No, her dad is named after her granddad, Fred Trump. So that other brother, the brother from another mother, no, same mother, Robert Trump, was the one who briefly replaced the president of the sports and entertainment for the Taj Mahal. But then he felt humiliated by Donnie, and so he quit. But I wonder if there's more to it. There's always more to the story, right? If it was uncomfortable for him because he knew or was suspicious about this little accident. I do not know. Let's see. What do I have written on the side margin here? So to reiterate, the helicopter crash, losing the 3 high-level executives, convinced Donnie that he needed to divorce his wife. I'm thinking that he's trying to rewrite the narrative that that helicopter crash was possibly the final straw for Ivana to leave him, because she may have known, or she might have been suspicious that there was something to it, that it wasn't just some random accident. And then remember that emotionality was the hardest part of losing his business partners, when he thought it would have been the financial devastation, but no, there's emotions there too. These are humans, these are people. Like, you don't need to explain that. Like, that goes without saying. You only say it because it's not true, in my opinion. And so I believe that targeting Michael Bolton, or no, sorry, that's a musician, John Bolton, who was in Trump's administration, and raiding his house, raiding his office. I believe that the Los Angeles barber shop getting raided by ICE last night, and the Russia bombing the US factory in Ukraine, all of those things in the last 24 hours, I fully believe are basically terrorist attacks stemming from the Trumpster fire himself. And then it was about the John Bolton thing that he said, I know nothing about it. Like, it's your job to know these things. And of course you know something about it. So when you say, I know nothing about it, to me, that's a dead giveaway that you're involved, in my opinion. Am I like all washed out by this one light? I'm sorry if I am, and I didn't notice it until now. I don't know if that helps or not. Let's see, what else? So yeah, I think, is it Truth Seeker who's done some really good Kylie videos about Reno and about the casino there, and basically the things that I'm very suspicious of. I think that that content creator, Truth Seeker, has made some of the best videos, kind of sketching out what very well could have happened with Kylie. Kylie could have been lost in a bet, in a gambling debt. I think at least one of Truth Seeker's videos is about her having to escort the biggest winner from the casino. Is it like the Grand Casino? Is that what it's called? It's like the big casino in Reno. Let's see. Grand Sierra Resort and Casino. That's what it is. So you also have the Atlantis Casino, Silver Legacy, and Peppermill. But the Grand Sierra Resort is the one probably where they had the car show, right? I don't know. There's also Caesar's Circus in Reno, and a couple others. Nugget Casino, Renaissance Plaza Resort. Anyway, so the Grand Sierra Resort, that's the one that Truth Seeker is usually talking about. So the Grand Sierra Resort, I wonder their affiliation with the car show. And, I started to mention yesterday that I think all of this heinous crap with the little e-files, with pageants, with modeling, all of this transporting. I feel like we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg, the surface, that it's such a huge industry internationally and nationally that is hiding in plain sight. And a lot of that is through tunnel systems, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. It's terrifying, isn't it? Absolutely terrifying. She restarted, but she said she's going to put them together. Oh, she must have some good software to be able to like sew her two videos together, because I've tried to do that and I don't know how to do it. I think you have to have real specific software to do that. All distractions to change the subject from Epstein. I agree. Anniversaries are very hard. And anniversaries surprise us too. Like sometimes we don't even realize it's the anniversary, but then we're going through all this stuff and then we were like, oh, it's because the anniversary. Sort of like when there's a full moon and you don't realize it, and all this weird full moon stuff is happening, and then you realize, oh, there's a full moon. Okay, that kind of explains some of it. And anniversaries surprise us with a lot of like new revelations and just new understandings, even when we think that we've kind of hit all of them. And it's the 20th anniversary, and we think, well, okay, we know it's the 20th anniversary, but we've already figured all this stuff out. There's no way something new is going to hit me. And then again, something new hits you on the 20th anniversary. I mean, it's almost inevitable. Plan on it, right? It's more surprising if it doesn't happen. I think that the truth seeker is the one that I don't like. She had movie videos and parts of her videos, right? I think she does. Like, she has interesting video clips, movie clips, and songs too. And yeah, at first I thought it was kind of odd, but I really like her dramatization and her ideas, or their ideas. I don't know if it's male or female. And yeah, it took me a minute to warm up to the style, but I do really appreciate. I'll put some of my like top 2 favorite truth seeker video links in the description, and check them out and get back to me, Anna, because yeah, I think a lot of times she says the quiet part out loud that nobody else will say, but she's doing it in this creative way. Like, she's not saying that this is what happened. She's just imagining that this could be a scenario, right? Is probably the biggest industry in the world. Yeah, Anna Bees, it is absolutely the transporting, because not just the X stuff, but also farming and restaurant workers and hotel staff. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't say factories, did I? And then, dang, we never talk about this, and we don't want to. This is big in the Dayton area, is the parts, the transporting of parts, like in the medical field. So a lot of that is above boards, and a lot of it's not above boards. So it's huge in Ohio. It's probably huge everywhere, but Ohio and Dayton specifically is one of the cornerstones of the, what do you call it? Like biomedical transporting, underground slavery. Yeah. Right. And then when you're done with the labor, then they get sent in for parts, right? It's really, really dark, evil crap. And then they call themselves, just research facilities, when really that's what they're doing in there, is disassembling remains for spare parts and shipping them out. And yeah, it's a huge industry. Absolutely huge. A lot of it not above board. Well, and even the stuff that is above board, it's just so dark and creepy that, they have a hard time keeping employees, even though they pay very well. Most people can't stomach that crap. I know I couldn't. I definitely couldn't. I could not even stomach like the autopsy of the frog in high school biology. Just the smell of it. I mean, it was gross enough looking at it and dissecting it, but the smell, wretched, absolutely wretched, even with all the chemical treatment and stuff. And humans are the worst. I mean, I don't even know that I've smelled that. Obviously, my husband has, and I think I have, but I don't even like to think about it because I am very sensitive to my olfactory system is very sensitive. And for anybody who has smelled the decomposition, they say that it's a unmistakable smell that you will never forget, ever. And that is gross. So the car show and Reno, thinking about Kylie's song and the 2 times a year when she screams, but she cannot make a sound, it reminded me of the soundproofing of the temple on Epstein Island. It was that crazy for me to connect the two, but she's screaming and she cannot make a sound is what Kylie wrote in the lyrics of Far Away. And there's nothing in the lyrics of Far Away about being far away from anything. So was that it? Is that they would take her to someplace far away and then she was in some kind of soundproof area where she could scream, but nobody could hear her? For all we know, they could have even taken her to the Virgin Islands, for all we know. For all we know, she'd been in the temple. If it was built in 2009, maybe that was when they started it, and then it was completed by 2013. And she passed away when she was 16 in 2022, meaning she was born in 2006. Am I doing my math right? So add 8 to 2006, you get to 2014. So the year that the temple was done was the same year that Lindsay and her family moved into the lodge. Coincidence, I'm sure, just sheer coincidence. Yeah. It's going to cost a lot of money to run a place like the lodge. So even if you're making a lot of money off of the establishment, with room and board, it's so expensive. California is so expensive. Tahoe is so expensive. So, you would need to do maybe illegal things to supplement your income. Maybe a growth facility, maybe just a little bit of transporting on the side, You got this 7-year-old daughter in a little yellow boat all by herself in a photograph in the back of a men's journal magazine. I don't even want to think about it. It makes me nauseous. I could just vomit thinking about it. Let's see, no way I couldn't handle the dissection part with the frogs too. Well, and Anna Bees, you work in the medical field, so getting through nursing school, I'm sure you dealt with a lot. And then I'm sure you deal with a lot at work too. I don't want to think about how terrible it smells. I know. And you've probably, I'm sorry, dear. So sorry, seriously. Let's see. Let's change the subject, all right? So the fire cam virus, the video we were talking about yesterday when the Kylie Rodney's car going into the water fire cam video was emailed to so many content creators on YouTube, and it infected their systems with viruses that made their systems crash. Who would have access to that type of malware? Military would have access to that type of malware, but it's also a lot like the viruses that that they try to keep out of all those porn sites, like I was talking about yesterday, like from working with professionals from Microsoft that had extensive resumes in the X industry, because that's where you're going to get the highest quality resolution. That's where you're going to get the highest quality virus protection. It's all there. So kind of equating that with the ability to send all these emails to all of these content creators to blow up their systems, I don't know. Interesting. These billionaires, like the inventor, the fake inventor of the Book of Face, and not to mention the money of the what was Nancy at the time of Kylie's passing. She was like the Speaker of the House, and she was raking in the dough. She was making hundreds of times more than that $175,000 or $185,000 salary that the representatives in the House are paid annually. She was raking in the dough. So I'm just wondering about who would have sent the fire cam with the virus, and why are you trying to sabotage all the YouTube channels that are covering Kylie Rodney? Oh, because she's a 16-year-old girl that took a wrong turn and landed her rig in the drink? That's not what happened. We know that. So, a couple other things I wanted to talk about before we wrap up. We're getting close to 90 minutes. The Golden Dome on top of the temple on Little E Island, and the Golden Dome that El Presidente has been talking about building, that I think is more of like a metaphorical Golden Dome rather than a literal Golden Dome, to protect the country from nuclear missiles. Golden Dome is very symbolic. I just thought of that this morning, and I looked it up, and I'm like, Golden Dome symbolism. What does Wikipedia have to say about that? Symbolism of domes. The symbolic meaning of the dome has developed over millennia. Although the precise origins are unknown, a mortuary tradition of domes exists across the ancient world, as well as symbolic association with the sky. Both of these traditions may have a common root in the use of the domed hut, a shape which was associated with the heavens and translated into tombs. So remember, I'm talking about the Golden Dome on top of the weird structure, the temple on Little Ease Island, and I'm talking about the figurative Golden Dome that Trumpster Fire has talked about building to protect our country from nuclear missiles. The mortuary tradition has been expressed in domed mausolea, martyra, and baptisteries. The celestial symbolism was adopted by rulers in the Middle East to emphasize their divine legitimacy, and was inherited by later civilization down to the present day as a general symbol of governmental authority. Let that sink in. And that's just dome in general. That's not even the gold dome. That's just the symbolic meaning of domes. So here's what's the symbolic meaning of the Golden Dome. missile defense system. The Golden Dome is a proposed multi-layer defense system for the United States intended to detect and destroy various foreign threats, including ballistic, hypersonic, and cruise missiles. Before they launch or during their flight, the system would employ a global constellation of satellites equipped with both sensors and space-based interceptors. The architecture has been viewed as similar to the brilliant pebbles concept of the 1980s. If implemented, it would mark the first time in history that space-to-ground weapons are maintained in orbit. And the cost is somewhere between 175 billion estimated by the White House and 831 billion estimated by the CBO. I'm not sure what CBO is. I'm guessing international something or another. And the White House estimates that it's going to be done in 2029, and that's probably the earliest would be 2029. Anyway, that's not what it's symbolic of. That is where should I stop here? The meaning of the Golden Dome in Christianity. Let's read that real quick, and then we'll give up on this part. In early Christianity, the term Golden Dome denotes the opulent architectural elements of temples, which serve as symbols of affluence and veneration. These features not only highlight the grandeur of religious structures, but also have the dual purpose of concealing graves. This relationship between lavish design and the hidden aspects of burial reflects a complex interplay of faith, wealth, and the afterlife within early Christian practices. I'll leave it at that. Pretty creepy, huh? What say you? And let me get a drink of juice while I read. Sorry, I missed a whole bunch. Where are we? Oh, my daughter told me that there is a plague patient in Reno. Holy crap, Anna Bees, you got to be kidding me. That is absolutely frightening. I have not been to a human autopsy. I know, I thought I wanted to go to medical school until I realized that that was part of the deal. I was like, nah, not doing it. In anatomy and physiology class, they used pig parts for us to identify for the test. When people pass at the hospital, they don't smell because they are taken before decompensation starts. Well, that's good. I mean, because, yeah, that smell, you know, your olfactory memory is so strong. You can't get it out of your olfactory memory. It is so strange when people have passed how the empty body looks. It is wild. I was present when my mother passed away. It is a really wild process. Yeah. Yes, that is creepy about the Golden Domes. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I had never even thought of looking it up, but it's definitely just with the temple on Little Ease Island. But then also, you know, that was something that Donald was really pushing a few months back before he started trying to push all this other stuff to distract. I don't think the Golden Dome, because it's like kind of abstract and in the future, It doesn't have the distraction qualities that he needs, like a barber shop or a raid of a Republican that he appointed, their private home as well as their office, or the blowing up of an American factory by Daddy Vladdy in Ukraine. So I don't think there were any fatalities in that targeted attack overnight. It was really just an FU to America by Daddy Vladdy. And I think that Vladdy's just really throwing his weight around, because I think he's got Donnie by the balls and he's trying to show it off. And there's nothing that Donnie can do, except if the e-files are released the way they're supposed to be today, then Vladdy's going to lose all of that power and leverage over Donnie. Then he's got nothing. So I hope that it happens, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But it is Friday, and we do have the weekend for all kinds of crazy to happen. And unfortunately, that is when I believe some of the biggest, most horrific distractions that aren't just distractions. They're like terrorist attacks, I think, provoked by dear leader, maybe. Let's see, what else? So yeah, I definitely want to do more research on Melania not winning the pageant in 1996. I was shocked trying to cross-reference my research and coming across that I don't think she won any pageant. I don't even know if she competed in any pageants, really. But what year was she born? She's 55 right now. So I think she was born in like 1971. So by the year 1990, she would have been 19. So by 1990, she would have been of legal age. She wouldn't have been jailbait anymore. But if Donnie met her before 1990, like before the helicopter crash, before the crashing of his marriage to Ivana, it's like until I found contradicting information about whether she did or didn't win any beauty pageants, it got me more interested in when did they actually meet? Like, why all of this evasiveness about her history? And she was she's always been a very attractive woman and child when she started her modeling career at 15 or 16. And if Donnie met her back then, when, let's just say 16, and if anything happened between the two of them, then that would be disgusting. But she could also leverage that in a negotiation of a business deal of becoming his wife, if she wanted that. It's just an idea. I don't know. I do not know. But there are a lot of people who've always wondered if she's basically like KGB herself, right? It's quite possible. Quite possible. So the Hamburglers and the pizza crap, and Kristi Noem and her little Hamburglar expose where her entire purse got stolen with all that money, and what she had a bunch of like blank government checks, I think, that she signed but hadn't filled out, didn't she? It was like so crazy, the stuff they said was in that purse, and all of her like high security access passes, all in the purse that then we've heard nothing about since. That was on Easter. On Easter, she took everybody for burgers on Easter, because yeah, that's what extremely wealthy people do on Easter, is they go to burger joints. So I think that the hamburgers might be code the way like Pizzagate was code. I don't know. It just kind of came to me this morning. Just kind of came to me. And then, that whole thing with Nancy Mace, maybe being trans, maybe that's why she's so hyper vigilant about that issue. She puts like hundreds of Post-it notes up in a day, I've heard. I'm sure not every day, but even to do that one day is insane. Hundreds of Post-it notes on the bathrooms all over the freaking White House, allegedly. That's nuts. Like, put her in an effing straitjacket. But for the radical right, the deep state right, as I like to call them, to be so hung up on girls' safety in locker rooms and bathrooms when they're nude. And again, girls don't get nude in locker rooms and bathrooms. I mean, not normally. But who does get nude in a dressing room would be the contestants for the teenage beauty pageants that Trumpster Fire owned. When he would walk in when they're half dressed, meaning half naked, right? And when he spoke about that on Howard Stern's show, and he opens into that segue with, "I'll tell you the funniest is when I would go into the locker room and say, 'Everybody okay in here?'" It's like, that's not funny. But that's how he segued into it with, quote, "I'll tell you the funniest," end quote. And then you get Michael Cohen saying, "Oh, I don't even know if that's true because, he just lies all the time and he just likes to brag and he likes to boast. And, I was at these beauty pageants and I never saw him walk in to a dressing room with half-clothed contestants. And, they'd always have their robes on." It's like, well, were you like attached at the hip with your boss? I don't think so. I don't think you went everywhere he went. And a lot of these guys at those beauty pageants or modeling events slip into closets with contestants or models and have their way. It's quite common practice, not just the owners, just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. It's part of the culture. You are so right, Jazz. Vladdy definitely has all the dirty secrets. He's got all the cards. Trumpster Fire has 0 cards. Nada. Buckus. Gonna say good night. Have a lovely evening. Thanks for being here, Helby, and good night to you, my dear. But yeah, the plague patient in Reno is real. So what does that mean? Another pandemic? I know for sure their own writings from the 2025 book that they want to delete undesirables. Absolutely, Anna Bees. And, a lot of people called the pandemic the plandemic, and they were considered conspiracy theorists. But I think that they are planning another plandemic. And, I didn't necessarily think that COVID was any type of twisted conspiracy. I mean, pandemics happen. That's why there's a name for them. But I'm very suspicious of the COVID-19, how the whole thing went down. And yeah, I'm very suspicious that they're absolutely trying to thin the herds. Absolutely. One way or another. Especially taking out the shots, the vaccines. Vaccines statistically have saved thousands, millions of lives. And the vaccines, I think, were very effective with COVID. I know that there's people who will argue that. I know people who were sickly felt like the vaccines could cause some people with compromised immunity systems to pass away, and that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. We do shower if we get sweaty in the locker room. Yeah. I mean, when I played soccer in college, at college level, we definitely got naked in the locker room and took group showers. That was the best part. I'm just kidding. That's a joke from Strangers with Candy. It's like tub team. The older woman who joins high school sports, or she goes back to high school to join high school sports for tub team. Her favorite part about sports. Anyway, who is that that comedian? She's so funny. Amy, she's the one. I think she wrote Clueless, but she definitely did the Strangers with Candy. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Strangers with Candy. Because yeah, it was an episode of Strangers with Candy. So Jerry Blank was her character. It was a spoof. Oh, it was created by Stephen Colbert. Amy Sedaris is who I was trying to think of. So Amy Sedaris is who stars in it, and she's the creep who's like, tub team. That's awesome. I didn't realize that Stephen Colbert worked on that. Nice. It's always cool to learn stuff. So anyway, I got all distracted. Definitely, like I said, in college, we definitely would strip down after games and shower in the locker room, especially if it was like a long drive home. But I think we even did that a couple of times at home games if it was like raining and we had to play in the mud. And yeah, but not high school. I don't think I ever stripped down in a locker room in high school. And that's what they're talking about with the radical deep state right, talking about girls in school getting naked in the bathrooms and in the locker rooms. And it's like, that's just not even a thing. And then they're talking about how vulnerable they are. And it's like, I don't know, you talking about vulnerable kids naked in bathrooms and locker rooms is making me highly suspicious of you. Like, why are you talking about that? Because it's really not a thing for schools, for like elementary, middle, and high schools. Not a thing. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I'm just saying that that's not normal, and kids are usually so body shy anyway. Like, they'll do any changing that they need to do at home, or they will wear things so that they don't have to strip down, like leotards or something underneath their clothing. Yes, at least in Arizona we did. Yeah. And I think you're talking about at work, right, Anna Bees? We do shower if we get sweaty in the locker room. And yeah, I watched Gattaca again with Ethan Hawke, and I think this is where we are headed. I haven't seen that, and maybe I should. I like Ethan Hawke, but I might not like him after seeing this movie, it sounds like. So I'll write it down, because I think I'll remember, but I won't. Gattaca. And yeah, I'll read your last comment and then wrap up. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark. But yeah, if you have anything else you want to add, Anna, or any questions, fire away, or anyone else that is here. And thank you for watching, whether you're here live or in the replay crew. You are greatly appreciated. And, I kind of feel like I need all the support that I can get emotionally for continuing with my science experiment of my YouTube channel, because it just takes a lot to keep pushing. And I really enjoy doing it. I get so much out of it. And I feel like it's important, not just for my own processing and therapy, but I feel like I'm helping. I do feel like I'm helping. And so when I have people like you, Anna, that are here supporting me and, helping me with ideas and correcting me when I make mistakes and anything, it's just extremely helpful. So thank you a million times over. And did you email me your address? Because I do want to send you some of the cool stickers. I showed you the one that I have on here. It's like a sun. It's just cute, black and purple and blue. Is it smiling? Yeah, it is smiling. It's a happy sun. But there's a whole bunch that I picked up. I picked up a package of probably like 50 of them, and I don't need 50 of them. So let me send you a handful, and then I'll kind of raffle off some next week. So there's like prizes for everybody, because that's always a fun thing to do. So if you remember to email me your address, because I try to delete when people email me their addresses, I try to delete them so that they're not hackable, basically. I think the desirables will continue to get vaccines, but the undesirables will not be able to access them. Right. And then they try to act like vaccines are bad when we know that they're not. We know that they're not. That's nuts. But, it's sort of like a few months ago when Trumpster Fire was saying how, our enemies are not really our enemies. They're our friends. And, our friends might not be our friends. They might be our enemies. And it's like, yeah, that is true in real life, in like your private personal life. But politically speaking, I don't agree. I don't agree that as a nation that your political enemies are not necessarily your political enemies, and that your political allies are not necessarily your political allies. I mean, you have to like keep your eyes wide open and pay attention. But for the most part, your political allies as a nation, you can trust because you have peace treaties, and nations don't want to violate those peace treaties. At least most nations don't. And then your adversaries are your adversaries. And when you make friends with your adversaries, that's called treason. And this is what the Trumpster Fire tries to like turn upside down and inside out. So then people can't see the forest through the trees. It's like, no, Russia is definitely not our allies. And they're definitely bad. How hard is that to understand? I mean, same with North Korea. Come on, get real, man. Absolutely effing crazy. And then turning Canada into an adversary? Really? That's nuts. Turning the EU into adversaries. I mean, get this guy out of here. Like, hasn't he committed enough of the T word? But again, the longer he continues, the deeper he's digging his grave, the more rope he's getting to hang himself with. And we'll see what the F happens over the weekend. He's going to be blowing up half the world by the end of today to try to distract from these effing Epstein files, man. Trumpstein files, I mean. Hashtag Trumpstein files. Okay. My daughter said that when she was in high school, they didn't shower, so maybe we were weird. No, it was high school. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, in Arizona where it's really hot. But was your daughter in Arizona for high school, or was she in Kansas City? Because, yeah, I mean, Arizona where it's like 110 degrees, you might need a shower. But, I mean, we had showers in the high school and in the junior high school locker rooms. I'm thinking maybe I took a shower once in junior high school in the locker rooms, because we even had a swimming pool at Malibu Park Junior High School. There was a swimming pool. So, yeah, you would definitely, like, in your swimsuit, get into the shower before going out to the pool. And then when you'd come in, you'd shower the chlorine off. But we would all keep our swimsuits on. I mean, I definitely didn't get naked in that shower in junior high school. No way. Because also, I mean, a boy could come running in. The door to the shower was like, from the outside, it was open. There was no actual door. It was just kind of like a maze. So, I mean, there was always that threat of some junior high school boy coming running in, which is really funny because that's like Donnie going into the dressing room of the beauty pageant. It's a very like junior high school thing to do, dude. And, to come in and say, is everybody okay? I'm inspecting. I own the place. Is everybody okay? That doesn't even fly. If you came in and said, does anybody need anything? That would fly. If you acted like you cared. If you're like, oh, well, I'm the owner of the pageants and I was just coming in to see if anybody needed anything last minute, I can get that for you, whatever it is. then that would be like your ticket in. But man, he's so effing juvenile. That is exactly what a teenage boy would do, is like figure out like, how can I walk into the dressing room? And then to, like I said, to segue into it in that conversation with Howard Stern with the quote, "I'll tell you the funniest." Like, it's kind of out of the blue. He just wanted to bring it up and he wanted to say that. But then to get back into Michael Cohen saying that he doesn't even believe that Trumpster Fire did that, it's like, that's crazy. I mean, and again, I think Michael Cohen is just a bald-faced liar. I mean, he's just like the Trumpster Fire. It's just that he has had a come to Jesus by getting stripped of everything he owned, including his freedom. He got stripped of everything. And he is probably a better person than he was, but he's still the tiger not changing his stripes. He's still lying for the Trumpster Fire, in my opinion. Again, whether he's paid or not is irrelevant. It's not material to me, because he's covering for his ex-boss, if for no other reason to keep his family safe. Because that's how that crap goes. I've had to shower at work if someone threw up on me. LOL. Yes, that's a good thing, right? But hopefully Donnie wouldn't come in and say, "I own the hospital. Everything okay in here?" Oh, I forgot. We'll email you. Cool. Ethan Hawke is a good guy in the movie Gattaca. Oh, good. Yeah, I remember hearing about Gattaca, but I never saw it. He was great in Reality Bites, man. He rocked Reality Bites. He was really good in a couple of others. Wasn't he in Singles? Was it called Singles? The one about all the young people in Seattle that live in an apartment building, kind of like Melrose Place, except like the Seattle version. It's like Portlandia meets Melrose Place kind of thing. Russia is definitely bad in North Korea. Right. I mean, they unalive their own people, and their own people hate them, but they can't say so because then they'll get unalived. She was here in Kansas City. I was dared to go into the boys' locker room in high school. All the boys were out in the field at football practice, but they came back in. Two of my cousins were there, and they picked me up and put me into a locker. Billy, darling, I was just about to wrap up, my dear. How are you? The coach came in and made them let me out. I didn't get in trouble, just a lecture. Oh, terrible, terrible, terrible. But I'll share with you that when I was a senior in high school and played basketball, and we were at like our last away game, and one of my friends that played on the team, who was more devious than I was, she wanted to do a senior prank on the boys. And actually, we were sharing the same locker room. So the locker room that we used was used by them. And so after we changed, when we were done, she was like taking stuff out of one locker and putting it in another locker so that people wouldn't be able to find their stuff. And yeah, I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, it'll be funny. Trust me." And it was funny. But then this one jerk was like threatening to sue her because he was pretending that he lost his $500 watch. But yeah, he ended up in jail 10 years later anyway. Random story, but I just thought I'd share. Sorry you got stuck in a locker. That sounds horrible. That's stupid. And yeah, I've had BS with older guys too. Fred Field. I find Truth's videos interesting, but hard to get all the meaning from them. It's prolific when I wasn't even 11. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. When you weren't even 11, something horrible happened with older gross guys. I mean, I've shared with you when Warren Beatty, I was 12 and I was at his house at a pool party, and he was talking to my friend's father. I don't really want to name drop. My friend's father was very famous and he was very down to earth. And so I was friends with him, but Warren Beatty was talking to him. I didn't know Warren Beatty. It was the first time I was at his house. I knew his kids at school, but didn't know him. And I was wearing a bikini and he pulled me over to sit on his leg while he's talking to my friend's dad. And I just got up and left. I was 12. I was in 7th grade. So yeah, I was 12 years old. And I left pretty quickly and nothing else happened. But had I not just been like, what the F is going on here? And I mean, honestly, I was just bored and wanted to go talk to my friends. But it was also, I wasn't so much creeped out as I was just baffled. Like, huh? But a few things like that happened at different parties. And fortunately, it didn't go from there. I definitely had an old guy when I was like 14, when I was in 9th grade, come up to me and say, literally, I'll take you to the top. I was just like laughing in his face. I'm like, you didn't just say that. And then he did like the complete Don DJT kind of thing. He was like, well, you'd have to lose 5 pounds. And it was hilarious because I was so skinny. I was like anorexic, even by Southern California anorexic measures and standards. I was very, very, very slender. I did not have 5 pounds to lose. But, he was trying to play on my teenage girl insecurities. But that was the entire conversation. He comes up to me and says, I'll take you to the top. And I laugh in his face. And he's like, well, you'd have to lose 5 pounds. I'm just like, okay, MF. I mean, he was probably older than 40. He was probably more like 50. Who the F knows? But I was definitely in 9th grade and definitely 14 and definitely super skinny. Like the same height that I am now and like, I don't know, 90 pounds thinner. I mean, seriously, I was anorexic. I mean, I even like grossed out my friends. Like they thought I was too skinny, especially if they saw my rib cage, like if I like stretched and my t-shirt came up, it would make people vomit. They'd just be like, oh my God. But, that was Southern California. That was in the late 70s, early 80s. It was back in the Twiggy days. My God. Anyway, it was just crazy how he tried to fat shame me when I was like so skinny. If I lost 5 pounds, I probably would have had a heart attack and died. And I didn't go for it at all. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm fat. What? I was just like, this is seriously, I was just like, yeah, you have no idea. Like, because I was always losing weight, but I was like the skinniest I could be, like on the verge of hospitalization. I was never hospitalized, but if I had lost 5 more pounds, I'm sure I would have been. Anyway, read the rest of what you guys have here and then sign off. Yeah, I've had BS with older guys too. I'm so sorry, Billy, if you want to share. Not even 11. Shouldn't have been in there. Wait, what? Anna Bees, did I miss something that you said I shouldn't have been in there? Oh, in the locker. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, I didn't miss it. I just was blanking. I don't care. I'm with you. Hey, Fred, they were very rude. Laters. Dexter wants to play ball before the news. Oh, well, the news is going to be a shitstorm today, Fred Field, with the John Bolton crap, with the bombing of the factory in Ukraine, the United States factory in Ukraine that was bombed by Daddy Vladdy last night, and then the barbershop in LA that was raided by ICE last night. Or at least they tried to raid it. I don't know if they were successful or not. I know the owner was not letting them in, but they probably like busted in the door or something. I mean, it was definitely a distraction tactic, in my opinion. It was just to try to create a big news story to distract from those pesky little e-files that just won't go away. That's terrible, Jazz. I've heard stories about Warren Beatty. Well, he had 2 daughters that were my age, and then he married Madonna. I think they got married. Like, she was with him after Sean Penn. And then when he married Annette Bening and they had a child, he said that he had never had any children, because I think he was like 50 when he married Annette Bening. And I was just like, holy crap, what did he do to his kids? One sec. Hey, hon. Yeah. Okay, bye. All right, I need to wrap up. Let's see. But yeah, I was just like, are his kids even alive? What do you do with them? Or did they disown him? Society needs to change. His must have been 5 pounds, for fuck's sake. So true, Billy. I was super skinny too. We all had eating disorders, didn't we? I know, it was the 70s, right, baby? I often wonder if that caused my autoimmune disease. Absolutely. With the Reno plague case, Lake Tahoe had a plague guy, same guy, OMG. Wow. Okay, I do need to wrap up quickly. So love and light, peace out. Hopefully I'll see you over the weekend. If not, then Monday, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to see you over the weekend. So signing off, drink your water, eat your protein and your fruits and veggies. Thanks again.